It was just an ordinary night. Or so it seemed. The city was asleep, and yet, somewhere in a dimly lit hotel room in Rome, a man was wide awake, his thoughts louder than the silence surrounding him. Can Yaman sat by the window, staring at his phone. He had typed something. A message. Not for the world. Not for the press. Not even for his fans. But for her. Demet. His fingers hovered over the send button. But he didn't press it. He never did. Instead, he saved it. Not in his drafts. Not on any device. But somewhere deeper. Somewhere only he knew. There are moments in life when silence becomes heavier than words. That night, Can chose silence. But the message never stopped living. It lived in his heart, in the corners of his memories, in the pauses between interviews where her name almost slipped. And in the way his voice changed every time someone mentioned her. He had written that message in a moment of weakness, or maybe it was strength. It said, "I thought forgetting you would be easy, until I realized I never wanted to. But that wasn't all." That message, unread, unsent, unspoken, held more than just regret. It held a promise. A truth. And a question that would haunt him for years. What if I had sent it? Everyone thought they knew what happened between Can and Demet. The series, the success, the chemistry, the rumors. But what they didn't know was this. Behind every smile, every public denial, every "we're just friends," there was this one message. A message that could have changed everything. If only it had been sent. He kept that message like people keep a scar, hidden, but never forgotten. It wasn't just a collection of words. It was everything he couldn't say. Everything he had rehearsed in his mind, 1,000 times. After their last real conversation, before the rumors, before the distance, there had been a moment. A brief one. Where Demet had looked into his eyes and waited. She waited for something. A sign. A word. A reason not to walk away. But Can had stayed silent. That silence wasn't empty. It was full of fear. Fear of being too late. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear of hearing a truth he wasn't ready for. So instead, that night, he wrote. And then he saved it. He never told anyone, not his manager, not his closest friend, not even his mother, who always knew when something was wrong just by hearing his voice. But the message stayed with him. In every interview where he smiled too quickly. In every scene where he looked just a little too real. In every trip abroad where he tried to forget, but couldn't. There were moments, even years later, when he'd wake up in the middle of the night, unlock his old phone, and read it again. Not to change it. Not to send it. Just to feel what might have been. Meanwhile, Demet. She never knew. Or at least, that's what Can believed. But what he didn't know was that she, too, had her own version of that night. Her own silence. Her own almost words. And somewhere, deep down, she always wondered why he never said anything. Because she, too, had waited. For that message. For that truth. For him. But she never received it. Not until. It happened by accident. Or maybe fate had been quietly waiting all along. A forgotten drawer. An old phone. A moment of curiosity. Can was in Istanbul for just a few days, press events, meetings, the usual rush. But something drew him back to his old apartment. The one he hadn't set foot in for nearly 4 years. The air was thick with memories. The walls still held the echoes of laughter, of lines rehearsed and whispered glances after midnight shoots. Of her perfume, still lingering on the pillow she once leaned on during a stormy night. He wasn't looking for anything. And yet, when he opened the drawer near the bookshelf, a drawer he thought he'd emptied long ago, he saw it. The phone. Not his current one. Not even the one before that. But the phone. The one he had written the message on. Dusty. dead. But intact. He stared at it for a long time. Then, almost without thinking, he charged it. Hours passed before the old screen lit up. And when it did, he saw the unsent message still sitting there. Exactly as he had left it. But something was different this time. He didn't just read it. He felt it. Like it had been waiting. Waiting for him to be ready. And this time, he was. Later that evening, in a quiet cafe in Hangar, Can met an old mutual friend. Someone from the set. Someone who still talked to Demet. And perhaps that's when it began, not with a grand plan, not with a press release, but with a simple confession over a cup of coffee. There's something I never told her. Something I wrote, but never sent. The friend blinked. Then whispered. Maybe, it's time. And so, for the first time in years, Can took a deep breath. Opened the message again. And forwarded it. But not to Demet. Not yet. Instead, he handed it to fate. And fate delivered. Demet wasn't expecting anything that day. She had just wrapped a long day on set, her phone full of unread messages, production notes, and half-hearted "see you tomorrow" texts. But then, there it was. A message. Not from Can. But about him. From someone she trusted. Someone who had known them both back when everything was still new and fragile. It began simply. Demet, I think you should see this. It's from years ago. But it was meant for you. Attached was a screenshot. And when she opened it, the world around her blurred. There it was. The message. Can's words. Raw. Unfiltered. Honest in a way she hadn't seen in years. I thought forgetting you would be easy, until I realized I never wanted to. She read it once. Then again. And again. Each time, her breath caught just a little more. The makeup on her face still fresh from shooting a romantic scene, now stained by something real. Tears. Because suddenly, it all made sense. The silences. The almosts. The glances that said too much, and the words that never came. She remembered that night. She remembered waiting. She remembered walking away with a heavy heart, thinking. If he wanted to stop me, he would've. But he had wanted to. He just never found the words in time. Until now. And now, she had them. She sat alone in her trailer long after everyone had gone. Phone in hand. Heart wide open. And a single question looping in her mind. Why now? Not out of anger. But out of longing. Because the message didn't just carry the weight of the past. It carried a door. One that maybe, just maybe, had never fully closed. The next time they saw each other, it wasn't on set. It wasn't planned. And it definitely wasn't casual. A quiet meeting. Somewhere far from cameras, agents, and expectations. Just the two of them. Demet was already there when Can walked in. Same cafe. Same table where they once shared coffee and silence. But today, silence wasn't enough. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just looked at him and asked the only question that mattered. So, why didn't you send it? Can sat down, eyes heavy. He didn't rush to answer. Because the truth deserved more than quick words. Because I was afraid. Afraid that if I sent it, I'd lose the version of you I still had in my memories. Afraid you had already moved on. Afraid it was too late. He looked up. But I never stopped thinking about that night. Or you. Demet said nothing. She didn't have to. Her silence wasn't distance, it was weight. The kind you carry when the past is suddenly standing right in front of you, asking for a second chance. She finally spoke. I waited, you know. I told myself I wouldn't, but I did. Not for the message. Not for the words. For you. Time didn't rewind. They didn't fall into each other's arms. This wasn't a movie ending. But it was real. And sometimes, that's more powerful than anything scripted. Ken reached into his jacket and placed something on the table. The old phone. Still working. Still holding the message. It's yours now, he said. Because maybe it was always meant to be. They didn't make promises. They didn't say forever. But as they left that cafe and walked into the soft Istanbul evening, something had changed. Not everything. But something real. Something that started with a message. That finally found its way home. Some stories don't end with a kiss. Some don't need a headline. Some just need to be felt. And this one, Can and Demet's story, wasn't about what the world saw. It was about what they never showed. As he walked home that night, alone but lighter, Can finally let himself breathe. For the first time in years, he didn't replay the what-ifs. He didn't wonder about that moment she looked back. He didn't wish for things to be different. Because he had finally done the one thing he never could. He said it. Not on stage. Not in a script. But in his own words. I thought forgetting you would be easy. Until I realized I never wanted to. It wasn't just a message. It was a memory. A confession. A bridge. And maybe, a beginning. Somewhere else in the city, Demet stood by her window. The night calm, her heart not so much. She still didn't know where they were going. She didn't even know if there was a they anymore. But she knew this. She wasn't angry. She wasn't confused. She was, at peace. Because now she understood everything he never said. And maybe, deep down, she had always known. Not all love stories are loud. Some are written in silence. Some are hidden in drafts. Some are whispered once, and kept forever. And some wait years to be read. But still arrive, right on time,